welcome back to this 4-course look into investigation of and practice of the practice of prayer in your life to develop healthy patterns of prayer so that you might flourish as a person of prayer and therefore as a human. The first video we took a look at and we talked about just paying attention first and foremost to the desire for God in your life, that you wanted at all to have any kind of prayer life was evidence of the activity of God in your life. And you made a list and you sent some things, like evidences that God is up to something, because that's where it all starts. Prayer begins with the desire of God to connect with you, as opposed to you having to come up with some ways. All these practices are predicated on the activity of God in your life. So speaking of those practices, we're going to talk this session about some of those practices. I'm going to assume a couple things going in. One is that you may have already tried some stuff. You have tried praying sitting down with your eyes closed and your hands folded. Maybe you've tried praying on your knees. Maybe you've tried praying out loud. Maybe you've tried a particular prayer journal. All those things are totally fine. Part of what ends up happening when we struggle with prayer, I'm going to go ahead and say it out loud, is because the thing we're doing, the prayer journal, maybe someone wrote a book and maybe that book doesn't quite click with us. And we can really easily mistake our disconnection with a product or with a practice as somehow we're disconnected from God. I don't think that's the case. It's just the tool. And if the tool doesn't work, don't use it. Maybe use it down the line. This is not the job for it. So it's what are some things in your mind that you've already done? And again, pick up your journal. Again, here's where the journal is important. Pick up your journal, pick up a piece of paper. What are some things you've done that didn't work? What I want you to think through and actually do some time writing about, what didn't work about it? How did it feel? How did you feel while you were doing it? Did you try, when you sat down, if you're someone who tried to pray the kind of traditional way, you're still, you've got your hands clasped maybe, your eyes are closed, what didn't work? How did it feel? Actually work through that. Because those are some things you should know about your own life, maybe about your body physically, that maybe you shouldn't be sitting when you're trying to pray. Maybe you got too much stuff going on in your body. What didn't work? Do some work to try to figure out what that was. And even if you don't know, just kind of write down how it felt to feel like it wasn't working. Let's start there. Spend some time there. And then I want you to spend some time doing this. Try 2 or 3 brand new things you've never tried before. Maybe you've already got a list of stuff, some in the back of your mind, write that down. Some stuff you've heard people do when they pray. Maybe it's something as dramatic as fasting. You've heard that people stop eating for days at a time, and you're like, that's terrible. Maybe you don't want to do that, but maybe it's something and you're just I kind of want to try that. Try it. And as you try it, write some stuff down. This is how it feels. Day 1, I'm kind of hungry. Cool, write that down. Day 2, I'm very hungry and I'm mad at God for taking away my food. Whatever it is, try some stuff out. Here's some things that, things that you might not have heard about, things that you may have, not heard people trying. One of the things that I've done is when I am jammed up on something, I've got something that's kind of circling around in my mind, because one of the things that keeps me from praying is I've got stuff that's buzzing in my head and I can't get it out of my head and I'm trying to avoid it. Instead of avoiding it, I'll take a piece of paper and I will write that thing down on a piece of paper. And I'll just say, and I'm not going to tell you what I'm writing down. And then I'll tear it out. And I'll crumple it up in my hand. And I'm going to hold this thing, this thought, this idea, this thing that's the reality of my life that's bugging me. And I'm going to go for a walk. And as I take a walk, because I've got this bundled up in my hand, I know it's there and I know it's written down. And my mind can wander as much as I want to wander. But I'm going to take this outside. I'm going to say to God, okay, I need to take a walk and I need to deal with it somehow, and I don't know how. This is in my head. It got my emotions tangled up. I'm gonna have this in the palm of my hand. I'm just gonna make a fist because I want to crush this thing anyways. So I go for a walk, and I'm constantly conscious this is in my hand. I just let my mind wander back to it, and when my mind wanders back to it and I think of this thing, I just say to God, I don't know what to do about that. Can you help me figure this out? And that's what I do with this thing. That is one practice. Try that out a couple times. And again, message me. Like, let me know what are you doing? How is it working? Another idea, and you guys may have, you guys, it's not guys, you people, persons, hi, it's not all guys. I'm trying to rid myself of that one. You might have heard about or even tried at one point Lectio Divina. If you have and it didn't work, that's cool. Write about why it didn't work. If you haven't, this is kind of what it looks like. I'm just going to pick a short bit of text from the Bible, and instead of reading it in context, and I get it, like what we're used to from the standpoint of study is if you're reading the Bible, read it in context so you can understand what it's saying. That is, you absolutely should be doing that in terms of study, but that's not the only way to use the Bible. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this little section from Psalm 63, and I won't do the whole thing right now because it can take 5, 10, 15, 20, 30 minutes to do. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to read this section to myself, maybe even out loud, 3 different times. And I'm just going to let it kind of sit in my soul. Because if God is active and alive in me, and I've got the Word of God in my head, and the Word of God in my hands, and I say it out loud, and I make myself available to it, maybe God's going to actually do something with this thing. Maybe I can actually trust this. So this is Psalm 63, and begins with verse 1. "O God, you are my God, I seek you. My soul thirsts for you, my flesh faints for you, in a dry and weary land where there is no water. So I have looked upon you in the sanctuary, beholding your power and glory, because your steadfast love is better than life. My lips will praise you. So I will bless you as long as I live. I will lift my hands and call upon your name. My soul is satisfied as with a rich feast, and my mouth praises you with joyful lips. When I think of you on my bed and meditate on you in the watches of the night, for you have been my help. And in the shadow of your wings, I sing for joy. My soul clings to you. Your right hand upholds me." I'll read it the one time, and then sometimes I'll close it, and I'll close my eyes and let the reading sort of sink in. Take a breath, and then read it a second time. And as I read it a second time, I'm paying attention. Is there a word or a phrase that jumps out at me from the text? Or, as I'm reading it, is something jumping into my mind that this is sort of stirring in me? And then I'll take my journal, and I'll write it down. And then I'll sit on that after the second reading, and I'll read it a third time. And as I read it the third time, I'm paying attention to that word, that phrase, that image. And after that third time, I sit and wonder, what context does this have in my life? What is it that this is saying to me? What's my soul saying to me? Or what is God maybe saying to me? And then I'll pick up my journal and I'll write a couple things down. That's another practice. There are lots of ways to do the Lectio. That's one way I like to do the Lectio. The last thing I want to suggest is, and there are many different forms of this as well, it's what's called an examine. It's basically a way to look forward to or look back at a day you were already in. A way of prayer that honestly doesn't feel much like prayer, specifically for those of us for whom it's like the form of prayer and the language. Bleh. Okay, well, let's try this. The end of your day. If you're the kind of person who comes at the end of your day and you've got some energy, grab your journal. I told you to get one of these. Grab your journal and take just 3 to 5 minutes. Step aside, and whether you have to go outside because you've got family stuff going on, take 3 to 5 minutes. You can make 3 to 5 minutes, and think back through the day you just had, and ask yourself these 2 questions. This is all. Again, the examine can be really, really elaborate. Let's just do a simple one. Where did I feel most alive today? Just search the day with your mind. Where did I feel most alive today? And if you can remember what that was, write it down. Then, where did I feel less alive today? Where did I feel kind of dead and lonely and separated? And write that down. And then that was your prayer. You just said to your soul, to God, this is where I felt alive today. This is where I didn't feel alive today, and I'm giving that back to you. Done. Or, if you're the kind of person who comes at the end of your day and you have no energy left whatsoever, then try this at the beginning of the day and think about the day before. Or look into your day and think about the things that are coming up and write down one of these 2 things or both of these things. One, what am I most looking forward to today? What's the thing that's actually I'm fired up about, I'm stoked about, I can't wait to get to this? And what's the thing I'm most dreading about today? Write those down and submit those to God and say, here's my prayer. This is what I'm excited about. This is what I'm nervous about. So those are just some practices. And all I want you to do over the next like 4 or 5 days is try some stuff out. Maybe you try the Lectio, maybe you try the Examine, maybe you try crumpling up a piece of paper with a word or phrase or something that's bugging you on and taking a walk. Whatever it is you try, message me. Send me some thoughts. Like, this is what I tried. You hadn't thought about this one, Justin. Here's an idea. How did it go? And if you've got some stuff that you know didn't work, send me some messages about like, why didn't it work? What do you know about your life now, about your soul, your body now? It's like, this is why sitting still doesn't work. This is why walking doesn't work. Dig in, send me some thoughts, and I'll see you next time.